So who is the best generalist? So what is a generalist? A generalist is a unit who can fill 2 or more roles, oftentimes filling 3 or potentially all 4 roles. So the roles that I define or that I have defined in the game are damage, which is dealing, either high single target or AoE damage. You have utility, which is making your team more effective. You have shutdown, which is reducing the effectiveness of the enemy team. And then you have healing, which is restoring lost health. So generalists usually have a mixture of those categories. So for example, Hasabara, she has AoE damage with cleave. She has decent single target. She can heal things around her by using Be Brave. And she can also throw an ally. She doesn't really have debuffs, so she is a generalist in that she has some healing, some damage, and some utility in the form of Catapult, which is repositioning and putting tank on a unit. You could argue pushback is shutdown if you knock something off. That'd be fair, but it's situational shutdown. It's not just like something that always has like a high chance to work or can be used in general. Like if there's a map where there's no cliff to push a thing off of, then it's not necessarily shutdown in a way. It does move them back and it's decent, but that's an example of a generalist. So who are the units we're going to be evaluating? We have Piccoletta, Crinton, Anna, Huet, Rudolph, Medina, Milo, Julio, Serenoa, Hasavara, Narv, and Giovanna. These are the units that, in my opinion, if I had to pick only 12 units to evaluate that can fill multiple roles, at least to some degree, these are it. There's not really anything else that comes to mind, like if I go to switch units. Like Benedict, he's just pure utility, off tank. He can't deal damage, he can't really heal. Frederica, she's just mostly damage. Gila is just mostly heal. Travis is mostly damage. Cordelia is mostly heal. Eridor is just a shutdown unit, he can't really deal that much damage. Trish is just damage. Avlora is just damage. Jens is mostly shutdown with some damage, but the damage he deals is low. Flanagan is a utility. His damage is terrible. Archibald is just damage. Maxwell is like a damage bruiser off tank thing, but he can't. The only thing he really does, he doesn't have CC. He literally has no shutdown. The only thing he can do is take hits and deal damage. So he's actually not a generalist. I described him as a generalist because he just kind of runs in and attacks things. And kind of deals like decent damage, but I'd actually change that to be damage. Azana, she does have damage and shutdown, but she doesn't have like a lot. She just has like AoE, and her shutdown is hit or miss. It can be good, but I would say for like generalist, she only fills like 2 roles kind of well. Like some of these have 3, some of them have 2, but if they are in here because they have 2, they're like extremely good at both things. So Lionel is a shutdown. Grama could be considered a generalist, but I just opted not to put her in. Quahog, he's like a pure utility unit. He doesn't really deal damage, but he breaks the game. And then Decimal is just damage. All right, so I think these are the most generalists we have. So here are the categories. Actually, let's do it this way. There's 11 things that I'm going to use to determine who's the best. Actually, let me add one more thing. This will be the 12th thing. All right, so here we go. So we have 2 overall categories, and there's 12 overall questions that need answered. So the first category is role filling, and then the second category is general unit properties. So for role filling, we'll just go through this. So who has the best healing out of all of these units? I would say it's actually a tie, and this actually might be kind of surprising. It's a tie between 2 units, and one of them is not a healer. So I would say it's a tie between Anna and Medina. So why is that? Medina can double item spam heal. She also gets increased heal from HP Physic. So her double item spam actually is pretty effective, and if she's near the thing she's healing, she can keep doing this every turn. And then Anna can use 2 healing items a turn. So because she acts twice, she can use 2 large range pellets and heal around her, including herself, at point blank for 240 health. And she can also do this while invisible, so she can be untargetable and be a healer. So both of these, I would say, are tied for best healer. Narv can heal fairly well, but he needs TP to do it. Like, the big upside of Medina is even if you don't double items, she can still throw a large pellet or just like spike heal a single target for free. So both of these are completely independent of TP, and because Ana can heal without TP and also spike heal, while also being invisible, she's an effective flanker healer that is virtually invincible because she's untargetable. So as long as she doesn't get hit with AoE abilities that hit her on accident, you know, just because she's within the radius, she can just heal for free, be invincible. She can also double heal every turn. Medina can double heal every turn if she's in the range of her own AoE pellets. And between the two of them, they have the most consistent healing. They can heal the most often out of all of these units. It is true that Hasabara can be brave every turn. It doesn't heal for as much as either of the units I just went over. And she can trekking for TP, so she can use it every turn, but she also doesn't heal herself. So if she catches damage and she's like trying to heal like a flank squad, it's annoying. Like you can see, I actually put Bangle of Vitality on her because I was experimenting with her. We're gonna remove that though. She's not a good healer in general. Putting a unit near putting one of your units near other units that are taking damage usually results in that unit taking AoE damage, generally speaking. So it's not as good as hitting things at range. And Ana can get away with it because she can be invisible, and then she can heal for more and for free. And she can also just turn into a damage unit, so massive upside. And then Narv, he needs TP. He burns through TP fast. He needs a battery. His heal isn't as good as either of those. So for best healing, we have Ana/Medina. All right, who is the best damage? So this is single target or area. I think I know who it is. It's Currington. I don't even have to go over it. Glacial Moon spam. Best. He'll deal the most damage here. In second though, I would say Ana. Now if we're assuming this is a team game, right? That we're running units to make our units better. Like, so we would have a battery with Currington, because that, you know, why would you use him in a vacuum? That doesn't make sense. It's a team game. Your pieces work together on the board. So Currington definitely has the highest overall damage, and then Ana is a close second, because what she can do, and most people aren't aware of this. If you follow this channel, you are. She can spam 2 AoE elemental stones for good damage and target like enemy weaknesses for free every turn. And she can get good damage off doing this. So she actually is a pretty close second. So I would say for just damage, just straight up damage, it goes to Currington, because he has so much area damage. A single Glacial Moon can deal like 1 to 2k damage if there's enough enemies in the range of it. Like 1,000 damage. That's a lot. That's insane. It has one of the largest. It has a range of 0 to 6, and it hits very far. It can hit up to 8 tiles away. And its height minus +10, so it can hit a lot of things on different height, like high and low ground. So it's very flexible. It essentially turns Currington into a siege weapon, so he definitely has the best damage. All right, who has the best utility? So who is the best at improving their team's effectiveness among all of these? So the only units that even have utility, honestly, I think Medina is really the only utility here. Hasabara has Catapult, but that's not nearly as good as battering everything, so I think it goes to Medina. So she'll get this one. Her battery abilities are so good that like it's part of the reason she's S tier. The other units with utility, Julio is an honorable mention. Maybe he's tied with her for this, because like you have to consider the metagame. Like Julio enables the Quahog strat of breaking the game easily, and also he gets damage boost on things and he can start attacking, whereas Medina, actually no, Medina can attack too. So for best utility, I would say overall it goes to Medina. Okay, who has the best shutdown? So Medina definitely doesn't have shutdown, so she's not even in this. Currington has some passive shutdown. Piccoletta in a way has shutdown by throwing decoys out. But for like raw shutdown, it's probably going to go to Milo, because she has the best, most consistent shutdown, so it's going to go to Milo. So, okay, so now we're past the best. So we'll call this text file best generalist. All right, so best healing, Ana and Medina are tied. Best damage, Currington. Best utility, Medina. Best Shutdown, Milo. Okay, now for general unit properties. How good is their mobility? So I'm going to say this is a tie between 3 units. And it should be obvious which ones they are, like which ones it will be. Huet. Oh wait, for Best Shutdown, I think Huet's actually tied with Milo. And the reason for this is I tested blind, and if an enemy has a 100% chance to hit, blind reduces their hit accuracy to 30%. And if they have less than 100, like if they have like 80% chance to hit, it just multiplies it by 0.3, and that value is what the hit rate is. So just by spamming blind on multiple enemies, Huet can shut things down while damaging them, and immobilizing things for 3 turns also is a huge value. Now obviously, circumstantially, both of these, depending on maps, can be better than others. Like Huet on high ground, pinning like multiple enemies and getting like turn accelerated can completely shut down and hold, small groups of enemies in place. And then Milo spamming Power of Love against balled up enemies can be extremely powerful too. But between the two of them, I honestly do think they're tied. Okay, so mobility, I would say, is a tie between Huet, Milo, and Anna. Okay, so why did I include these units? So Huet, she has such high jump that terrain does not slow her down ever. So she can just fly over anything. It doesn't matter. Like, she can just fly up 10, 20, 30 height. It doesn't matter. There is no map where she can't fly on top of things unless it's just out of bounds geometry that you can't stand on. So her jump allows her to completely ignore all height changes and to grab high ground for free. And like just this, like if you put a movement bangle on her, she can be extremely mobile. And once she gets on high ground, she just kind of like sits up there, like perched up on top of it, and just shoots things, blinds things, spikes things, shoots them with different debuffs. So just this is enough to put her to be a competitor. For Milo, she has 5 move, but she also can moon jump and then act again. So she has 10 move, and she can jump plus or minus 8 height, which is pretty good. That can grab you most basic high ground. She can't jump she can't jump to extreme heights or extreme depths, but she can, on average, grab high ground. And she has 10 move for 1 TP. So this is extremely good. And then for Anna, she has passive 4 jump, which is very good, and this is the second highest jump. Huet and Flanagan both have 32, but 4 jump allows her to climb things other units can't, which opens up her passive mobility. So kind of similar to Huet, she can ignore a lot of like height distances, but obviously not as extreme. But in general, most things are a height difference of 2, 3, and 4 for average maps. So like even when she's just climbing like a cliffside or something, this will help her greatly. And also she has Surmount, which allows her to jump plus or minus 1 to 15. So if something is 15 height high, Anna can run up to it and surmount. And she can also surmount twice in a row. So she can surmount at the beginning of her turn, move, and then surmount again. Okay. Hold on, I got a random update for some reason. Let's see. It's like Microsoft Defender is offline. All right. Anyways. All right, back to the video. All right, so Anna, Huet, and Milo, I'd say, are tied. I think that's pretty fair. Okay, are they exceptional at more than one thing? So we outlined who's the best at healing, damage, utility, and shutdown. Now, are any of these units exceptional at more than one thing? Meaning, can they do really good damage and also heal for a lot? Can they, heal for a lot in battery? So units that are exceptional at more than one thing, Medina for sure. So Medina definitely gets this one. I'd say Huet. She's exceptional at damaging and shutting things down. She gets damage and so she gets high ground. She gets damage, accuracy, and range increase while she's shutting things down. She can blind something every single turn for free because it's just 1 TP. So every turn she can blind something. So she's constantly blinding and damaging things. She can maintain blind on up to 4 enemy targets while also killing them and getting seemingly increased crits. As far as we know, based on testing, crit rate seems to be affected by height. So if you're attacking from high ground, it seems to increase crits. This is something that people are still studying. We don't know for sure, but it definitely, just being higher up does increase your damage. So And then Medina, of course, can heal while batterying, which is useful. So she always does 2 things at once. And same thing with Huette. So like the two of these are just always doing 2 things at once. Anna can be very flexible too. She can heal and deal damage. She can spam elemental stones for AoE damage. She can use Deadly Blaze and normal attacks for like constant like crits and follow-up attacks, as well as do AoE damage and target weaknesses. She can also heal. So I would say Anna gets in here. Honestly, Anna might be S tier when used correctly. I put her at A tier, so like, you know, if I'm slightly wrong, that's fine. Like, better to be slightly wrong than put her at like D tier, and then it turns out she's like broken, you know, and then I would be really wrong. But so Corinton, can he do multiple things? Is he exceptional at more than one thing? Kind of. Honestly, I would say he's in here too for generalist, because ice tiles reduce enemy movement and accuracy. And he can also silence while damaging things, so he's also a good damage shutdown type unit. And he's passively shutting down the enemy and reducing their effectiveness by putting down ice tiles and reducing their move. And then for Julio, he can kind of be... He's not exceptional at damage or tanking, he's just decent, so I wouldn't say he's exceptional. Rudolph, I wouldn't say he's like a really good single target damage, and he has some good shutdown, but he can't... Like, for example, you're either dealing damage or you're shutting down. You're either putting a steel trap down or you're doing straight shot. You're either dealing way less damage with Slumber Shot, or you're using, like, his damaging abilities. Slumber Shot is decent, but it's not nearly as good as Immobilize. It has a lower proc rate, and you can't spike down Immobilized targets because they'll wake up. It does cause them to take a crit, but I would say he's, like, a great damage and a good shutdown. I think that's fair. Hasabara, she's like doing one thing at a time, and when she does, it's decent, but it's not like great. Piccoletta, she's not exceptional at like, she's good. I would say she's like an A tier for decoy. Like, using decoy and spamming items is actually good, because what you do is you don't even need to battery her, and she's also very evasive herself. She has a base evasion of 74 at level 50, so she can be quite good at just dodging things. But aside from that, she's not like exceptional. Giovanna, she's definitely like, if she's anything, she's a damage that can kind of heal poorly. So like, she's not. She would be a decent damage in a whatever healer. Narv, same thing. He can kind of do a little bit of everything, but he's not exceptional. Serenoa, he's not exceptional in anything either. He's just a good generalist overall. Yeah. So why does it matter to be exceptional as a generalist? Well, this is who's the best generalist. So like, who's really good at doing 2 things type of thing. All right. So we have Medina, Huette, Anna, Corinton. Okay. 7. This is the 7th thing, and I will post this in the description, so you know that I'm just like, I'm not making this up. I do go off of a list, and I do like write down who places in a category. Do they have AoE effects, healing, damage, shutdown, utility? So Huette actually doesn't, so she's not in this. Milo has AoE shutdown. Medina has AoE healing and utility. Anna has AoE healing and damage because she can spam items, so I will count that, because she can do like 2 times items is really good with spamming elemental stones. She can outdamage mages like with basic spells for free every turn without a battery. So this is not a joke. This is not like a meme. This is a real thing. Like, throwing 2 elemental stones and hitting 130 on like 3 to 4 enemies, sometimes 5, twice, that's 260 damage for free, 0 TP. Like, it costs you money, sure, but if your units are upgraded, you get money from beating missions, and you sell all the extra like crafting stuff you get, and the money's not an issue anymore. Corinton has AoE damage. He doesn't have AoE anything else. So I think it's a tie between Anna and Medina, because they have the most consistent like AoE healing battery, AoE healing, and also AoE damage. Whereas Corinton is just AoE damage, but he's really good at it, and Milo is just AoE shutdown, and she's really good at it. And then Narv, he does have AoE damage and AoE healing, but he needs a battery himself. You have to understand one thing about Narv. He needs a battery. Anna doesn't need anything. She just needs items. And you're going to have money on New Game Plus. You're going to have items to spam. Medina doesn't need anything either. She can get hit by her own TP Physic procs and then double items every single turn, constantly healing while batterying. So Narv literally needs another unit just to make him even comparable to either of these. But Anna can out-heal Narv. He does have better range than her. But Medina can out-heal Narv and also battery. And Anna can also switch to damage. And she can also, like, she can do literally 3 things. She can heal, she can spike heal onto, like, for her act twice. She can single target nuke with Deadly Blaze and then a basic attack on a backstab, which actually does deal good damage and debuffs the enemy you hit to allow future hits from other allies to kill, to deal scale damage. And she can deal AoE damage. So she can do single target, AoE, and like damage and AoE healing. So that's why I don't think Narv is like yes, he can do those things too, but he needs a battery and it's not as good. It's just not as good. He does have pierce defenses. Oh, I thought this did both. I guess it just reduces magic defense. I thought this also decreased physical defense. That would be interesting if it did. That would make him a little bit better. But I would say it goes to Anna and Medina in this case. Okay, are they good at more than 2 things? So the one question... Okay, so this is like, are they good at 3 things? So can they do more than just 2 things really well? Can they do 3 things really well? In this case, Narv can only really heal and deal damage. His shutdown is like extremely inconsistent. 30% paralyzed. That's not... Whoops, I accidentally deleted Narv. Let's bring him back. He is a generalist, so he needs to be in this. He can do 2 things pretty well, but not 3. Julio, he can battery and damage and tank, which is kind of like utility, but I guess Julio could be in this. He's good at more than 2 things. Corentin, he really just does damage and shuts down. He can use Shield of Ice, which can like be utility. He's generally better off not using this, but he can do it. But is he good at his 3rd thing? I would say not really. He's decent. It's not like he's like, oh yeah, Corentin's utility is why you use him. For Anna, she can deal damage, heal, and set up traps by herself, which is nice, like fire traps, which is really just more damage. And you could argue it's crowd control, but like anyone can throw oil, so I guess we won't count that. Medina, she actually can do 3 things. She can damage if you want her to, and it's not with hitting with her knife either. Medina definitely goes in here. She can double items and then throw elemental stones, so she literally can be a decent damage dealer out of nowhere. Milo, she's really just like a damage dealing shutdown, so she can't really do more than 2 things. Honestly, it's probably going to be these 2, because everyone else... I mean, actually, no, Sarah Noah should be in this. He's actually pretty good at more than... He can be a decent battery. Like, this is a great skill. Giving this large of a radius, or large of a range, because I guess it's like a diamond shape, it's not exactly a radius. This large of a range of 1 TP restoration is huge. He can also put tank on things, he can delay things. So he has damage, he has spike damage, he has shutdown with delay, he has AoE damage, he has shielding stance to tanks, that's utility, so he has utility, damage, and some shutdown. But his shutdown is so weak, I guess he isn't in this. His shutdown's not good enough. He just has utility and damage, really. His delay can be good, but it's not like as oppressive as blinding something or like paralyzing it. And then for Anna, she can set up fire traps, which is shutdown, and she can do this by herself every single turn, which is really good. So I would say it's Anna and Medina again. Surprisingly, Anna is better than I think most people realize. And this isn't me just like being a fan of Anna. I'm actually just like kind of neutral in terms of Anna. I'm not even really sure who my favorite character is in this game because I just kind of run everyone and I don't really care. So if you're wondering what my bias is, some people would assert it's Roland, but I only made the Roland videos because I don't like when people are spreading misinformation and when you say something is bad and I can prove it's not. So that's why I made all those Roland videos. It's not because I'm like a huge Roland fan. I just don't like when people say something sucks, but it's good, and you can prove it's good, because the new players will see that and be like, oh, well, Roland's bad, so let's just get rid of him. But it's like, Okay, but now you're missing out on more options that you might enjoy. Maybe you enjoy having a guy on a horse ride around and shove people off of cliffs and nuke them in the back. It's fun, you know. I think it's fun. Same thing with like Maxwell high jump. It's fun to do. Certain things are fun to do. So I would rather have more options than fewer. So that's kind of my stance on it. All right. How well do they fit into a team to pick up slack in most areas? So like let's say in the case of shutdown or damage, like, okay, we need damage, so let's run this unit. So how well are they at filling a role? Right out of the gate, Corentin is so good at filling, well, it says in most areas. So like, honestly, I'm just going to straight up give this one to Anna. Because Medina can heal in battery, and she can kind of damage, but Anna can heal. Anna's healing is like almost comparable. It doesn't have the range, but like in terms of magnitude, and it's just free. So like the difference is if Medina heals at range and doesn't get caught in her own double items, double heal, she doesn't get her own TP restored, and she can't double items every turn. So if Medina isn't double iteming and catching her own healing, meaning she's healing targets that are not near her or single target spiking things that are away from her, she can't double items every turn without another battery, whereas Anna can always heal twice and always throw 2 elemental stones and always attack twice, and also has really good mobility, can set up chains and like, you know, follow up attack spam and deadly blaze combos and all this other stuff. So I would say Anna is probably the most versatile unit to just throw into a team, assuming you know how to use her, because like she can do a little bit of everything as needed. Whereas with Medina, her damage isn't as good as Anna's. Obviously, her utility is better, and her healing is like generally better. But like I said, if you're using double items and Medina just uses a single item that targets one out of the, like let's say you need to spike a single target that's not near her, now she can't use double items next turn if she was only at 3 TP. So she can't double items every turn, whereas Anna can always heal. Obviously, Anna needs to be next to things to heal. But to pick up slack in most areas, Anna can also shut down by setting up by herself oil spill, you know, large oil tiles and then setting it on fire. And I think she actually can do this while being invisible. You can use elemental stones and not break invisibility as long as it doesn't damage something. So she has a lot of neat gimmicks. She can also basically block things off by being invisible and blocking off like walkways, and this can cause enemies to waste a turn. So if she's already invisible, you can have her body block, and in some cases, when enemies go to climb up and down like narrow pathways or like on cliff sides, as long as their turn ends with them facing away from you, they usually won't reveal her. So she can actually passively body block in some instances without being revealed while being invisible, and enemies' AI breaks. So that's like an interesting thing she can do. But for just fitting into a team to pick up the slack in most areas, because like Medina can't really pick up damage slack, right? She can pick up utility and utility and healing, but she can't really fill damage, whereas Anna can do like 3 things very well. Medina can do 2 things very well and can kind of damage every now and then, but she can only double items damage infrequently, you know, because double items is 3 TP, and if you throw damage items, you're not restoring TP. So she can kind of damage-ish, but I'd say this goes to Anna. It factor, overall effect on battlefield. Probably a 3-way tie. Well, actually, no. So for it factor, it's probably going to go to a lot of these S tier units. Corentin, Glacial Moon, Huette, just like general, flying around, damaging and shutting down. Medina for her battery and healing. Anna for her versatility. Milo for her big shutdown. I would say that's fair. All right, and then this one is kind of specific. How good is their weapon skill? So basically, who has the best weapon skill and why? This is kind of hard to gauge because I have to kind of like compare different things. Like Power of Love, I would say, is as good of shutdown as Glacial Moon is as damage. So I would say at least Milo, Corentin. Medina isn't really known for her weapon skill. You can use it and it's kind of okay, but it kind of assumes, like, first of all, it's 4 TP, which is okay. I'm pretty sure it heals for 150. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it heals for 150. It's like a board heal for 150. It's okay. It's definitely not as good as double item spam, because it also doesn't trigger TP physics, so it's not even nearly as good as Glacial Moon. So Medina's not in this. For Huette, Shooting Star is good, but it's not as good as Glacial Moon or Power of Love. For Anna, Deadly Blaze is good, but it's not as good as those. For Serenoa, Under Conviction's banner, I would say, is good, so I'll put this in here. Because he's always near his backline, so I would say that's fair. This is a fantastic weapon skill. It's not going to be used as frequently, but if he catches Medina battery, he can act as like a third battery or a second battery, depending on how many batteries you're running. For Hasabara, Catapult it's not that good. It's okay in some situations. Rudolph, Rain of Arrows is so-so. Copycat can be good, but you need a broken ability to steal. Gaia's Roar can be decent, but if there's too many breaks in terrain, it's not. Intimidation is just okay. Mystic Beam is just okay. Yeah, I would say Milo, Crinton, and Serenoa. Okay, and then for a 12th thing, can they attack at range? So, can they attack at range? Now, this does include item spam, so Anna technically can attack at range. Obviously, Huette can. So basically, who's the best at attacking at range? Well, Crinton's Glacial Moon has absurd range, so he definitely would be in here. Huette on high ground has absurd range, increases her range. So those are like the furthest. Rudolph isn't even close to Huette's range because she's always on high ground for sure. Whereas he can sometimes grab it, or you can teleport him or catapult him up to high ground. But then you have to spend turns to do what Huette gets for free. So I don't think he's a contender for range. Obviously, Gaia Roar has a range of 99. Honestly, I'm going to give Piccoletta this too. She has passive 6 range with her items, which is way better than mages. So she can deal chip damage at range, and it's actually pretty good, and use any elemental stone. She has damage boost and range increase. So it's actually decent. It's pretty good range. So for just pure range, because it's not just can they attack at range, it's who's the best, who has furthest range. Then for Narv, what is his range? 4 and then +1 range. Yeah, his range is actually not as good as you'd think. Extending your reach. Yeah, because he basically gets 5 range. He still has less range than Piccoletta. Piccoletta she can throw her items at up to 6 range. Narv's abilities can be up to 5 range, and with AoE, she can reach out up to 7. He can reach out up to 6. So she's a little bit further reaching than him. And she can do this without any TP at all. So she can use a decoy. She can make a decoy and then just start helping with chip damage every turn. You don't even have to battery her. So it actually is pretty good. So let's maybe do a 13th thing, because I think there might be a tie. We'll count it up and we'll see where we're at, and then we'll see if we need to do a tie or not. Okay, so it seems like it's really a competition between Medina, Anna, Crinton, and Huette, and potentially Milo. So we're going to count those ones up. All right, so categories. Medina has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. All right, and then for Anna, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to double check these two. Okay, so far Medina and Anna are tied for best generalist. Crinton has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's pretty good. Huette has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then Milo. 1, 2, 3. All right, so she has 3. And then the other characters, Piccoletta has 1. Serenoa has 1. Yeah, okay, so Medina and Anna are tied right now. And honestly, that's not the worst thing. I'm sure people were probably expecting different units in this video, but to me, a generalist is someone who can do more than one, fill more than one role. Obviously, Hasabara can do a little bit of everything, and so can Narv. But if I were to run Narv or Hasabara, Like Hasabara definitely isn't as good as Narv, but like Narv's big thing is that he needs a battery, and that's why I put him at B tier originally. He could potentially be A tier by spamming Whirlwind with melee units. That could be really good. I think that's an A tier endgame build where he would actually be good. Yeah, like his... I mean, there's nothing like stand out about Narv. His stats are decent. He just has 4 move. He's a lot like Frederica, but he's missing like Sunfall. Like even though Sunfall is a charge ability, it still is good when you use it correctly. And I would say that's like the difference between that. Just I had him at B tier. But he could be good in the right team comp. So all right, so let's order these now that we have this. Okay, so tied for first place for best generalist units that can do 2 or more roles very well. We have Anna and Anna and Medina. Medina is an exceptional healer that can restore TP while healing. And she can also spam, she can double items, damage items to kind of fill a damage roll for a turn or two if she also is catching battery. Or she can do this 2 turns in a row if she has full TP, because she can double items, putting her down to 2, throwing elemental stones, and then next turn she gains a TP, double items again. So that can actually be meaningful damage. So she effectively can fill 3 rolls. Anna can fill 3 rolls. She can do 2 forms of damage. She can do high single target damage with a dagger. So she conserves her TP to Deadly Blaze by just using basic attacks or by spamming elemental stones. She can deal area damage with elemental stone spam each turn. She can also heal with healing items, 2 healing items a turn. She can also set up oil traps, like fire oil traps by herself, and she can set up puddles by herself if you want to use Azana. She can throw an ice tile, like a large ice stone, and then a large fire stone, and create puddles for Azana to nuke or Narv to nuke. So Anna can do a lot of stuff. She's a shutdown. She has shutdown with the fire. She has and she also has slumber stab, which has a 60% chance to put something to sleep. And if you have 4 TP, what you can do is you can get behind an enemy, hit them in the back with slumber stab, get some crit off. If it misses, you can do it again, and it'll probably work the second time. So she does have actually pretty good shutdown. I did forget to mention that, but between setting fire tiles on fire, or like oil fire trap and slumber stab, that is significant shutdown that it's worth mentioning. And then tied for second, we have Milo and Corinton. So Corinton is a damage shutdown that also has utility. And Milo is a damage shutdown that is just like extremely tanky and dodgy. Like she has really good evasion, causing her to dodge a lot of attacks. She has incredible magic defense and decent base stats. And she can also target enemy weaknesses by hitting for physical damage if they have low physical defense, or hitting for magical damage with green mist if they have low magic defense. She can also shut things down with Heartstealer, Stardust, and Power of Love. And she has insane mobility with Moonjump. So those are the things she excels in. Crinton, massive AoE damage, big range, Wall of Ice. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Wall of Ice. Wall of Ice is like kind of like a shutdown utility thing. It pulls attention away from your team. It allows your team to tank by putting a barrier, wasting enemy turns. So he actually does have good utility. Maybe this changes things a bit. Maybe he's tied for first. Let me look over who has the best utility. He doesn't have the best utility. Are they good at more than 2 things? All right, Crinton's also tied for first. Yeah, he is good. Yeah, his utility is Ice Wall and Shield of Ice. Shield of Ice is good on dead turns if you want to put it on a tank or something, or he can even put it on himself. So these 3 are now tied for first. They all have 6 points, and then Milo is a very close second. Or I'm sorry, Milo wasn't second. It was Huet. My bad. Okay. For some reason, I misread the thing. Okay, so Huet is a very close second. Yeah, I think that's fair because she the big reason why. So Milo needs a lot of TP to get her abilities off. So she can effectively shut things down, but you can only Power of Love when you're getting heavy battery, and you can only Stardust or Heartstealer when you either pass turns or get batteried. So she kind of needs to hang out with the team, whereas like with Huette, she damages while she's shutting down, and she also grabs mobility and just tanks for free because she gets so high up. It reduces enemy accuracy, enemy damage from like archers, because if they're shooting up, they have reduced accuracy and damage. She can height tank, but like in terms of just like winning categories, can they attack at range? She won this category. It factor, her, Corinton, Medina, Anna, Milo all tied for this. Are they good at more than 2 things? Wait, actually, hold up. Why did Huette not get this? Oh, yeah, because her damage... Okay. She's really good at Shutdown, and her damage is respectable, but it's not as good as, like, Corinton's damage, for example. So that's why she didn't place into that. Are they exceptional at more than one thing? Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, no, never mind. Her damage is good. I'm just trying to, like, organize my thoughts, because I'm doing this all in real time. Okay. Are they good at more than 2 things means are they good at 3 things or more? So she is exceptional at 2 things, and that is damage and shutdown. Now, she's not like the most damaging unit, but her single target damage and the fact that she's constantly shutting things down is really good, plus the high ground. So yes, okay, so she is that. She is not good at a 3rd thing. That is the point. She can't heal, and she doesn't have utility. So, yeah, okay. All right. And obviously she has insane mobility. Because when you're thinking about a generalist, you're thinking about a unit that you can just slot into your team that will just be able to do a few things well. So that is the definition of like Huette, because you don't even need to do anything to her. She can literally just grab high ground and be away from your team the entire game and just spam blinding arrows or just spam normal attacks, then shadow stitching, or just spam normal attacks, then shooting star. So she can just be a turret that shoots things with her basic attack. She can blind bot. She can pin things down. She can also drop down if she needs to set up a follow-up attack. And then shooting star is really good as well. Sight set is okay. It's kind of weird, but it can be okay. So, yeah. So that's just like... And the same thing with Milo. She is 3rd. All right, so Medina, Anna, and Corinton are all tied for 1st. Based on the criteria I outlined. Huette is a close 2nd. Milo is 3rd. And then, all right, Serenoa just has 1 category. Medina, Corinton. I'm just making sure no one else has won a few things. Corinton, Medina, Milo, Corinton. Okay. And then for the rest, the only units that actually like placed were these 2, who actually either tied or won a category. Piccoletta can attack at a pretty good range by default, and Serenoa, he has a good weapon skill, so he just like kind of won the weapon skill category because this battery is insane, and when combined with Medina, you have absurd amounts of TP. Like if you just use Serenoa as a 2nd battery, it just increases the TP effect, so like more things just have more TP. And then for the rest of these units. So top, all tied for 1st, Huette 2nd, Milo 3rd, 4th and 5th, or 4th tied between Piccoletta and Serenoa, just because they're the only units who actually won a category. And then for the rest of these, I would say Julio's next, and then like Narv, maybe like this. Let's do it this way. Okay, so I would say, and then we have Julio, Rudolph, Narv, Hasabara, and then Giovanna. For a generalist, Giovanna does way more damage than Hasabara when used correctly. But for a generalist, I would say Hasabara is a slightly better generalist, and then Narv is a little bit better. And then Rudolph is a good damage that can shut down. And then Julio. So Julio is an exceptional utility, but his damage is, while it's decent, it's not like so stand out that I would recommend using him. Like sometimes Julio does some damage, but he usually is going to be batterying things. So sometimes you'll have him use Intimidation, for example, and it can be decent and help clean up some enemies. But he's generally going to be whacking things to kill them, to gain TP, and just using Finish Them, Inheritor, and Moment of Truth. So that's the main use of him. So he's mostly a utility. He's like 90% utility and like 5% damage, 5% off tank, because he can get damage reduction with high TP. So yeah, this is the best. Basically, these 3 are tied for best generalist, and they all bring different things to the table. And then these are also really good. Like all of these, I would say these first 7 are really good generalists to run. People like to undervalue Piccoletta, but her ability to spam, like just use a range stone at like 6 range, or like an elemental stone at 6 range every turn, is big value. It's good. It's passive chip damage. She's like a mini siege weapon who makes decoys that waste enemy turns. And if you use her correctly, like I used her in this one, Deathless Fresh Save run, where she literally drew Avlora and 2 enemy spear units away for like 3 to 5 turns just with like 2 or 3 decoys. She's pretty powerful. You have to know how to use her though. She has a high skill floor. She's not just like, you don't just put a decoy and then hope for the best. If you use decoys correctly, if the decoy is the only thing in range of enemies, they are forced to attack it. So, like, it's pretty good. Like, you have to know how to use it though. But like early game, it's even better. Late game, it's decent, but early game, it actually hits for 20, sometimes 30 damage, and even late game, it will actively try to set up follow-up attacks. So if you have like Serenoa standing next to an enemy and it's the decoy's turn, it will attack and set up a follow attack with Serenoa if it can, and it will even use ball toss to do this. So pretty undervalued unit overall, unfortunately. Yeah, but that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, definitely like the video and subscribe. I appreciate all the comments and viewership, and thanks for watching.